In this video, we're going to take a look at page orientation. I'm still on the View tab from the last video. Let's go back to Home here, which is where you probably spend most of the time. And let's go to the Layout tab. And here we have an orientation button and two options for orientation. The default is usually Portrait. And I'm going to change everything to Landscape here. Notice I've got a 1-inch margin here, and then I've got 6.5 inches of text. So that's 7.5, and then another inch is 8.5. So that is the width of a standard piece of paper in the United States. I change it to landscape, and they're 8.5 by 11. So this should change to 11 inches, and there's 1-inch margin over here, and then 9 inches of text, and then another inch over here. So we've got a total of 11 inches. And the other way to do these commands is you can go to your File tab and go and do a print preview. And before you actually print, you'll see what one page is going to look like. And over here we've also got the option for orientation. And if you want to switch it back again to portrait orientation, in a second or two it will reformat your document in portrait orientation. So there's two places to do that, either right before you print or back here when you're creating your document in the first place. Now there's something that's related to this that we're going to take a look at in this video as well, and that is the idea of a section break. Now the orientation for a document is what's called a section command in Word, and that means it applies to an entire section of the document. Most people have one section for their entire document, and if that's the case, then your document will either be all portrait or all landscape. But sometimes you may want to have part of it be one orientation and part of your document be another orientation. And for example here, we're just going to go down and let's say that you have some kind of a table or some kind of a picture or something like that, and it's quite a bit wider than it is tall, and it might look better if a few pages of your document were in landscape orientation instead of portrait orientation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put in a couple of section breaks, and we're going to divide our document up into 3 sections. Before we do that, I'm going to go to the Home tab here, and most of the time when I work in Word, I have this Show Hide button turned on, and to me that's a real useful thing to have turned on, because it shows you every place where you hit the Enter key, you get these little paragraph marks. It shows you every space that you typed in. It shows you if you did a line break, which is what these little square arrows are. I don't know if there are any tabs in here, but it'll show you tabs with a little horizontal arrow. So right before the beginning of chapter 2, I'm going to go to my layout tab up here, and I'm going to go to breaks, and I'm going to insert a next page section break. Okay, that'll put in a section break, and it'll push chapter 2 down to the beginning of a brand new page. So it's at the top of a new page. If you scroll back up here, you'll see the section break, and here's another reason why I like to have this pushed in. If I turn the Show Hide button off, then I can't see that anymore. So I want to see that. And then I'm going to scroll down just a little bit further. I'm going to go down to the beginning of chapter 3, which isn't too far down here, just a few pages I think. And we're going to the beginning of chapter 3, and we're going to go to our Layout tab, and we're going to put in a break there, and we're going to put in a next page section. There's 4 kinds of section breaks. And that means it'll start at the beginning of a new page, and it also means that there will be a section break inserted before this. Okay. And now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to zoom all the way down to 10%. Let's try that again. And if it doesn't show up with multiple pages on a row, you need to go to your View tab, and one of the options on your View tab is multiple pages. So that may have to be turned on in order for you to get the document to look like this. Otherwise you might just see one long column of pages. So now I can see my whole document, and you can't really see it at this level, but here is the section break that I put in. So here's section 1 up to this little bar right here. Here's section 2 up to this little bar right here, and everything from that point on is section 3. So my document is now 3 sections. And I'm going to click any place in section 2. It doesn't really matter where. And then I'm going to go to my Layout tab, and I'm going to go to Orientation, and I'm going to make section 2, which is basically chapter 2, Landscape. And so watch what happens when I do that. So here is the section break at the end of chapter 1. This line here is a section break at the end of chapter 2. Everything in section 1 is still portrait. Everything in section 3 is still portrait. Everything in section 2 here in the middle is landscape. So page orientation is a section command, and if your document is only one section, then all of your pages will be the same orientation. But if you want to change up the orientation someplace in the middle of the document, you have to put in at least one section break. And if you just want to change it temporarily and then you want to go back, you're going to have to put in 2 section breaks. One before you make the change, and then one where you want to change it back again. So that's how orientation works, and that's a little bit about how sections and section commands work